Good afternoon. In this video, I will tell you how many units of Botox and in which areas to inject. First, we're going to go over what muscles are located on the face. This is necessary in order to understand exactly where the Botox injection should be administered. So, let's start with the forehead. On his forehead, we have muscles that, when tensed, form frontal wrinkles, frontal expression lines. They come in many forms. There are times when they go straight down the muscle, that is, on one side. On the other side, there are times when the wrinkle is long across the forehead. In order to determine on the client exactly where and how severe their wrinkles are, you need to ask them to be surprised. That is, to make facial expressions of surprise. When we ask a person to be surprised, their eyebrows raise and their forehead muscles contract. That is, we will see where the wrinkles are located, and where among them they are the strongest and most pronounced. In Botox, there's a golden rule: where it's big and strong, that's where we inject. Well, roughly speaking, there are, of course, a number of restrictions, rules, but most importantly, remember that with a stronger, brighter expression and stronger wrinkle, there and inject the drug. So, here we have the forehead. Let's take the forehead as an example. First, you must remember that below 2 centimeters to the eyebrow, we do not have the right to inject any drugs, because there are huge risks, complications in the form of drooping of the upper eyelid, right, and so a person will walk until the drug does not lose its properties, until it does not stop working. It can last 4 to 5 months, which is quite a long time. Therefore, this rule, one of the most important. 2 centimeters from the top of the eyebrow. You can put 2 fingers in the initial stages and define this line like this. Let's say she goes for here. So you can't stab below this line. Even though if you see wrinkles there, and even pronounced ones, in any case, you should not inject into this area. We'll enter at the top. Next we have the interbrow area. These are the interbrow wrinkles that form the muscles above the eyebrow and the proud muscles. Now, these interbrow wrinkles are formed by several muscles: the supraorbital and the proud muscle. In order to determine which areas we will inject the drug into, the person should be asked to grimace, frown, i.e. make an angry face. A person squeezes their eyebrows together, and we can see where the wrinkles form. Accordingly, those are the sites where we will inject the drug. Next, the following muscles we have on the carrier. This is where they'll be. I'll double shade them to make it clear to you so they're different. So, in order to determine where to inject Botox in this area, you need to ask the person to make a phi facial expression. Phi is like he smelled a bad odor. And he makes facial expressions like this. Then we can see where and how the wrinkles form on the carrier. And we're going to insert on both sides of the sides. There they are, the wrinkles. And onward. And one of the most important muscles, too. The circular muscle around the eye. And consequently, in its compression and training. Exercise means when a person is writhing for a very long and active time. We form expression lines called hound's feet around the eye. That's the way it is. If you see the wrinkles go further towards the eye, we're not going to touch them. We will only work with this area. More on that later. These are the main muscles, the main wrinkles that are allowed to work with Botox, Dysport, Botulinum and other analogs. In the lower third of the face, I don't recommend dipping into the lower third of the face. You are watching this video probably because you are lacking some knowledge, some experience. You may have forgotten something or misunderstood something in the course. And getting in the lower third of your face is not necessary unless you have confidence in exactly what you want to do and what you're doing. Because there are usually more complications with the lower third of the face. And Botox is still indicated on our forehead, interbrow and eyes. Now that's a direct statement. Next, it's already entertaining people. And I would say the doctors should be doing it, not cosmetologists. That is, we sell cosmetic defects at this level. Next, though, I'll tell you what we do with the lower third of the face. So we have a muscle above the upper lip. And when a person smiles, and if the gums are strongly visible, that is, the lip is raised very high when smiling. So the muscle is strong, it can be relaxed. The same way with Botox injections. Next, the muscle that lowers the corners of the mouth. That is, when the corners of the mouth are strongly lowered, when a person has an expression of dissatisfaction on the face, then we see these muscles, strongly pronounced. They clench and thus lower the corner of the mouth. Then on the neck. On the neck, when the muscles in the neck are strong and for some reason someone wants to relax them, Botox injections are also done on the neck. And the lower jaw. The lower jaw, like for example in nationalities like the Japanese and Chinese, will see a powerful jaw, strong, and also for some reason somebody wants to relax it. We'll be injecting Botox into your jaw. By units. How many units do we get? So, forehead wrinkles. That is, I write how many maximum units can be injected into a given forehead. Forehead wrinkles, that's 10 to 30 units. 10 to 30 units. Next. Interbrows 10 to 25 units. To raise the eyebrow if we need to, that's 2 to 5 units. Use foot's, eyes, that's a 5. 15 units. Wrinkles on the nose is 5. 10 units. The jawline is 40. 60 units. Raising the corners of the lips is 6 units. Relax your chin. That's 2.6 units. And neck wrinkles, that's 50 units. To make sure you don't do any harm, which is the most important thing too when having Botox, I recommend injecting 1 to 3 units per injection point. Let's look at how we distribute units across the face. So, we'll start with the forehead. We see that we have a pronounced wrinkle. Making sure that 2 centimeters from the eyebrow we set back. There's the imaginary line. By no means do we go any lower. In order to figure out for yourself how many units you want to use. You can take some cosmetic pencil or a special pencil for cosmetologists, which is a white pencil. You can black, you can felt tip pen, you can pen, but according to the rules it is done with a special cosmetic pencil. So, here we see wrinkles on the forehead. If our forehead is narrow on its own, here imagine that narrow forehead, you put 2 fingers in, and the forehead is over, and what, and where to inject. But actually the hairline, it shouldn't mislead you, as the muscle goes on, regardless of the presence and growth line of hair. So you don't have to pay attention to the hair. You can inject Botox. And right at it above the hairline. So here we have the lines, that is, the wrinkles that we see. We must understand the Botox, botulinum, dysport have diffusion, that is, they spread under the skin after injection by 1 to 1.5 centimeters. And we have to remember that after all, we do have gravity, yes, and drugs injected into a particular point, yes, have a tendency to sort of go downward. Yes, that is how we will calculate that if we, for example, inject a dot here, yes, then in the case of polyps, it can involve even this wrinkle, which we have on the line below which it is not allowed to inject. That is, we have to approximate, yes, that where we inject the drug, how it will spread and what wrinkles still with it will can hit, yes, affect them. So, here's the wrinkle. We look to see that she's strong, that she's tough. Here we have asked the person to marvel, and we see how strong the wrinkle is. Where there are a lot of muscles, where they're strong and strong, that's where we inject the drug, yes. So we're drawing dots. I'm not going to draw a dot somewhere at the end of the wrinkle, because we remember that we're going to have a spread of 1 centimeter. I mean, it would make more sense to put it right here, for example. Right here. That is, not in the wrinkle itself, but specifically in the muscle. So we have this fold of muscle between the 2 wrinkles. And it is into the muscle that we inject the drug. Here she comes, the muscle. That's the muscle, isn't it? There's the skin fold. And we approximately estimate that by injecting the drug here, it will spread in such a way that the tip of the wrinkle will also take it with it. Yes, it will relax it. Next, the distance between the injections should be approximately 2 centimeters. That is, not more often, not closer, no need for closer. Imagine spreading 1 centimeter here and 1 centimeter here. So it will all approximately be even and beautiful. If you dot more often, we have 1 centimeter spread, we have 1 centimeter spread here too, and we have overlap and double dose. That's what we don't want. So we leave a distance of 2 centimeters, no less. And put dots. Here are the dots on the muscle. So we don't have lines of some sort of blueprint. We look at the anatomical structure of the muscle as it forms into a fold. And that's how they're formed. That's where we put the dots. Next, we can enter, for example, right here. And if you go, here's one line we filled in. Further, it is necessary or desirable to go up. Then remember that it is better to do everything in staggered order. Again, not to impose diffusion from the 2 injection points, but so that we have everything nice and uniform. And if we want to top it off, we'll do more to top it off. Let's see what we got. If the muscle is strong, we can in the center 3 points. I'll take 3 units each. Three ones, 3 and 3. That's a strong one right there. I'll take 2. And it's a little ponytail on the side, a little wrinkle, and I don't want to put 2 units in there. I'll put 1 in here. So we look depending on the strength and depth of the wrinkle. Let's do the math. From above, I can see that the wrinkle is not pronounced. Here it's more pronounced, here it's weaker. So I'll put 2 here, for example, and I'll put 1 here. That's it. Below the line I have no right to do. So I will be calculating how many units of Botox I will need to inject into my forehead area. Let's do the math and note right away. We get 2 plus 2, 4, 7, 10, 13, 15. It worked out that we would need 15 units in the forehead. The forehead is one area. Often beauticians divide the zones and under each zone dial a separate syringe. This makes it easier to work with and easier to administer the drug. So you don't have anything tangled up and you have a rough understanding, an idea of how many units to each area. So, you draw onto the syringe. 15 units on the forehead area. Next, in order to make the interbrows. Let's fix the picture a little bit. In order to make the interbrows. We look at how strong it is, and how strong the wrinkles form. We ask the person to frown and see where we have a gap or crease forming. There's a wrinkle in the middle, yeah, there's a wrinkle in the middle. And where the strongest spot is, yes, that's where we inject. So, let's say we've got these 2 wrinkles here. With a frown. We have to remember where they are. If a wrinkle is not visible in a relaxed state, we must memorize it, ask for a straightforward frown, and fix it with our hands. How do we fix it? We fix with the thumb at the bottom, index finger at the top. Here we've grabbed this muscle and we're holding it. We'll have the insertion point right in the middle. Here and here. If the muscle is strong, take 3 of each. Remember, yes, that we have an interbrow close when it's still possible to inject an amount of a large drug to the carrier, right? But the further we go from the interbrow, the more dangerous it is to inject Botox. Many beauticians inject Botox, well, 1 unit, yes, to relax. Here is the tail of the muscle that also carries tension. If you are not sure, do not enter. Let him stay. But if you know confidently, here we have a tail of 1 unit each we also add. In the same way, clamp the fold and enter 3 units here. Then they brought it in here, and injected into the muscle of the Gordians. I mean, we're taking it over. If it is strong and pronounced, you can even put 2 dots. This way and a little lower. This way, let's say it will be 3, and down here it will be 2. Now, we've got the dots just like this. And now we're going to count them. How many dots do we need on the interbrow area? So we get 1 plus 3, 4. There's 4, 8 here, 2. 3 on the top, 2 on the bottom. 8 plus 2 plus 3, 13. We'll need 13 dots for the interbrow area. We draw a second syringe and fill it with 13 units of Botox. The next zone we have is Phi zone. By the way, you can add it to this same syringe here, because it's usually small. There's usually 2 or 3 dots. Here it is formed by a fold. If it forms and brings with it unnecessary wrinkles. It's rare in young girls, but it's still facial muscles. These are the muscles we use every day. Therefore, it may be that young girls will encounter such that they are pronounced here. So where we see the strongest muscle, if there's more than one, we pick the strongest one. On the sides directly enter there from 3 to 1 unit. 3 if it's severe, 1 if it's very mild. Well, let's put 1 in here. The points will be right in that muscle. 1 here, 1 here. And that's not 13 units, it's 15 units with this Phi zone. Next we're looking at the eye area, right? The eye area is such a pretty dangerous area, isn't it? But most importantly, you need to grope the supracostal where it goes. And closer to the eye than 1.5 inches, 2 doesn't fit. So you can't do anything in that area close to the eye. We are backing off 1.5 to 2 centimeters, and we will only have flavors on this condition. I usually recommend doing somewhere around 3 flavors in the eye area. And we remember that the number should not be large from 1 to 3 units. So we're looking at wrinkles and we're only going to have 3 flavors. The 3 flavors tend to be located between the deepest wrinkles and the strongest creases. Well, let's say we have the most severe wrinkle here, yes, and in order to remove it, I'm not going to inject under it, but over it. That is, so that these 3 units that I want to put in here, the big dose, yes, so that we have it under gravity and gravitational forces not down here, not below this wrinkle, so that it doesn't go down. And this one's the other way around. We'll introduce 3, lower down we'll introduce, let's say, 2, and on top, for example, 1. Here we get closer than 1.5 to 2 centimeters. Here there are 3 dots in the strongest muscle. Many cosmetologists are doing bold injections here as well. If you're not sure what you're doing, don't do it. Better unfinished than redone. It's Botox after all. And the consequences of improper insertion, yes, can be such that a person 4 to 5 months will just walk with a misalignment. If you don't want warping, then keep it minimal and neat. Yes, here it is in our eye. Accordingly, on the second eye we try to do the same, because the eyes are usually symmetrical, such an organ, symmetrical wrinkles. But it happens that, for example, here it is a bright wrinkle, and here it is not so bright. So here we'll take 2 instead of 3, let's say. Well, let's have 2, 1 and 1. Yes. Below. Here you go. This is the area. We don't go any higher and we don't come in here. You can't do everything, can you? We do not go to the click. Here they're just the wrinkles around the eyes in this area right here. So here's the top 1, 2, and 1. So we're counting how much we have for the eyes. 1, 2, 4, 5, and 5, 10. 10 on the eye area. It is also possible here along the line of growth of the eyebrow, as we have an eyebrow along the line of growth 1 centimeter off. If we put a dot here and inject 1 unit of the drug here, we can raise the eyebrow. And also on the other side of the eyebrow growth line, we indent 1 centimeter and introduce 1 unit to raise the eyebrow, and so we get 10 per eye, and raise the eyebrow 1 at a time. It turns out 12. This is the 3rd syringe we use to administer Botox. Next, along the lower third of the face. You and I agreed that if you're not doctors, we stay out of it. And if you're doctors, you're unlikely to watch this video. So here you have the amount of medication that needs to be injected into these areas. I don't want to take responsibility, so you can say I said so. Because, once again, the risk of complications is very high. Therefore, it is best to stay out of these areas. Botox is indicated for the upper third of the face. I mean, this is what you and I have laid out. Well then, after we have calculated all the number of units, we can write. Someone writes directly on the client how many units to which area. Someone's drawing a row on a piece of paper. And when you've drawn it all up, counted it, dialed 3 syringes, and in each syringe the amount of unit according to the area you're going to inject. You can proceed with the procedure.